Eureka, we can't hear you, eh?
Hi, everybody can hear me. Lovely. Okay, good evening. Sorry, I was speaking this whole time and no one heard me. But I was just saying we're going to wait till 5 minutes past, and it's 5 minutes past 7 now. So we're going to get going and people can join. We are recording this meeting for those suffering the load shedding. So welcome to the mid-year review. And the mid-year review is essentially to summarize the year that's gone so far and to give you an idea of what's coming ahead in the next 6 months. I'm just going to ask that everybody mutes their mic. Otherwise, I can do it for us. Cool. So I've muted everybody, but you will be able to unmute yourselves if you need. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so I just wanted to start off with just a reminder of the Football Academy's philosophy and then the pillars, and as we speak through the presentation, then just to always get back to these 3 pillars. And I think it's important to remind ourselves and everybody else that we have to have the character and the development of the boys at heart first, and that has to be with good people first. We have to try and develop good people who contribute to society in a positive way as our foundation, and on top of that is our academics, and then football within that. I think it's important always to remember these 3 pillars, because our decisions on the football side are based around these 3 things. We decide, are we doing good things as people first? Then are we putting the academics first? And then what do we do in order to develop their football? Within the football, each player is at a different level. I think it's important to remember that each player is on their own journey. And we're constantly reminding the boys that they're on their own journey and that they will have ups and downs, and that they will see some players progressing and some players regressing and some players catching up. And this is the process of development. It's often messy, but as the players start to develop and as they take responsibility for their development, they will see the changes that we hope to see as well. So I would like to encourage, obviously, the parents and the players listening to constantly remind the boys that they are on their own journey and that they shouldn't necessarily compare themselves to other players. There's lots of reasons why player A and player B are playing in the same team, but why their performance is different. And we need to remember that development is complicated in terms of as individuals and on a sports side. So that brings us back to the journey. And the journey at BSR football is, on a football side, is around learning the basics of football. So each player, when they join us, we assess their foundational football abilities. And from there, we work out what we feel is their best pathway for their development. After they've sort of achieved this, we add the levels of their physical competence, and obviously trying to create the mental preparedness. And I think the mental side is quite a big thing in the game at the moment, or in the world at the moment, should I say. And I think as we all start to become more aware of the side of the game, the psychological side, I think it's important to remember that we are going to see more challenges because we are more aware of them. I don't think there's more psychological stress or demands on the players now than there was in the past. I just think our awareness is making them sort of more visible to us as adults. So I think we are going to see more of these challenges as we go forward, as we become more aware. And I'd like to encourage the parents to, when they see these sort of changes in their boys or they have any concerns, to bring them to us. I think we have to acknowledge that the boys will share some things with us that they won't share with the parents, and they'll share some things with the parents that they won't share with us. So I think trying to remind ourselves that we're in this together and that we can work together to create the best environment for each boy. Secondly, thirdly, trying to create mastering the technical elements of the game. So this comes back to the foundational principles, and this is the foundation of our training. Lots of technical practice, lots of ball touches, lots of time with the ball, lots of time on the field with the ball. So, and that's an important aspect that we have to consider. Within that, obviously learning the different technical systems. So I'm just letting people in. Obviously learning the different technical and tactical aspects of the game. And again, this is a messy process. Players aren't going to grasp this concept immediately. Some professionals don't even grasp these concepts. So we obviously try and share it with them, but we have to understand there's going to be this process of to and fro until they get a firm understanding. The training is player-centered. And what this means is that we have a meeting every Monday, the technical staff, and we discuss all the players, where they are, what we think they require. And we do place the players at the heart of what we do. So I think although sometimes it can look like it's just happening, I like to sort of let you know that we are having these meetings on a Monday, and we are talking about the players, about their mental state, about their academics, about their physical state, about their ability to cope. And we're having these complicated decisions, and then from the outside, it looks like we're making pretty simple decisions, but we are trying to consider as many different aspects as possible. Obviously, adapting to pressure is something that takes time. Learn from losing and winning, and then obviously a journey of discovery. So we at the moment are enjoying the process, and I hope the boys are too. It's difficult, it's challenging, but I think at the heart of it, there has to be smiles on their faces, especially in the younger boys. Cool. So we have the transformational process. I think it's important to remember that the boys in the different ages, although they're in the same group, we have different goals for them. And the 14s to 17s, they're training to compete. They're not training to win yet. That's 18 and up. So training to compete means that they're training to learn the skills necessary to compete. That means that we're not demanding that results are positive. We're demanding that there's learning, and that we're seeing application of the training into the games. And that will give them the foundation to compete and to win in their older age groups. And it's important to remember that the coaches have planned out the sequential training. Marianka has planned out sequential training for them at their different ages. Shuaib obviously laid the foundations last year with the YDP, and now Dave is adding on to that sequential training. And every age group has different demands. So even within the same group, we are demanding different things from the different players. So on a football side, mid-year review, I'd like to say a big thank you to the coaches, Dave, Shuaib, Marianka, and Zaka, and Ziwe, and the rest of the staff. I think without them, we wouldn't be where we are right now. And they put a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of their heart and soul into the players and into the program. And I'd like to thank them. I would give us 8 out of 10 on a football side for the first half of the year. And that's primarily down to the attitude and commitment of the players. The BSI Football Academy is a demanding program. For most of our boys, this would be the first time they're in a system like this, an infrastructure similar to ours. And the demands that we place on them are high. We try to do it, obviously, with compassion and empathy. And the players have responded positively, and we've really received a positive attitude and commitment from them at training. I'd like to thank the parents on this meeting as well, and all those not attending, for their support, for trusting us with your son, for trusting us with putting your son's future in our hands. And we do take that personally, and we do try and give everything we can to make sure that they have the best experience and hopefully the best opportunities moving forward. And then the development that we've seen over the first 6 months, I think, is a testament to the people that we have on board. I think the players have seen a development. I think within the YDP, we've seen a massive development. I think some of the parents would agree with me that in the beginning of the year, it was a little bit messy, and it felt like we were moving uphill. But I think we as the coaches and technical staff had to keep reminding ourselves that this is a process, it is messy, and the pieces will come together. And I think in the YDP, we're really starting to see those positive changes now in terms of their self-esteem. So on and off the field, a lot more confidence in terms of their physical competence, thanks to Marianka and the sports science side, boys are more competent, more confident. And then on the football side, we're starting to see results. And result isn't, again, what we're after, but unfortunately, it's the easiest way to measure development. Or the simplest way to measure development, rather, not the easiest, but the simplest way. And I think we're starting to see results, we're starting to compete, and that's our goal. Remember, the goal is train to compete. And I think, have to remind ourselves that we have 14, 15, 16-year-olds playing in the under-17 league. And although a lot of our opponents also have boys in that age group, we're now starting to compete with them and actually outplay them in most regards. So as I said earlier, success is a messy process, and I think we see that on a daily basis. It's messy, and it's messy in the beginning to give you clear success at the end. If the plan is too simple in the beginning, it looks good, but at the end, it's most likely too constrained, and therefore that would most likely affect the results that you see. So the messy process often gives better results in youth development. The individualized care in terms of the meetings, we do discuss the players on a weekly basis, deciding, having a chat with them. We also we also work hand in hand with the study center team, chatting with them about the players, where they are, and trying to work out exactly what's best for them. Same on the EDP side, we chat about the players. Obviously, players join the program at different times. There's injuries, there's more lifestyle factors, maybe in the EDP in terms of their individual life. Obviously, most of them are starting to get independence. So obviously trying to match that, trying to make sure that they're developing, but still we're demanding high standards from them. And then I think one thing that's important to remember is that rest is important. Although we've demanded a lot from them physically and mentally, we also try and demand that they rest. So I'd like to encourage, again, the parents and the boys on this chat, if there are any, when there is opportunity to rest. Obviously in the EDP program, there's less opportunity in terms of the physical side of the game, but they have more time in order to rest mentally. So I would encourage them to start to pick up other things outside of football, to start to grow their identities outside of football. And for the younger ones, we work on this as well, but obviously we have more time. For the younger ones, I think the physical rest is important because of the physical demands are quite high for them. And then on the mental side, when we have these school holidays or study center holidays, to take the break and actually refresh and be kids, play, hang out with their friends, Fortnite, PlayStation, whatever the boys sort of are interested in these days. And then I think the big thing is enjoyment. I think we see a lot of enjoyment on our side from the boys. They seem to be enjoying themselves, and that obviously drives motivation. If at any point you realize that your son's motivation is starting to wane a little bit, you might not be enjoying it. And I would really encourage you to bring that forward to us so that we can actually start to individualize their plan a little bit. Maybe they need a little bit less football, a little bit more enjoyment, and we will try and structure that in. That it's highly unlikely that every boy is going to be as motivated as the next. And as their motivation fluctuates, so their enjoyment will as well. I think we need to just try and find a steady balance. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect all the time. Sometimes it won't be fun, and that's okay. We might build perseverance and resilience out of that situation. But the better we understand the process and the young man in front of us, the more we can do to help them. So coming up in the second half of the year, in August, obviously, we have the YDP tour. In September, on the 23rd of September, just can make a note in your diaries that the study center will be closed. It's a public holiday because the 24th is Heritage Day. And we will be having a Heritage Day Cup. And none of our boys will be playing in that because that's the end of season. So we'll give them a break. So that school holiday will be completely off. So if you do want to plan anything, there won't be any training during those school holidays or any commitments on a league side or a BSI football side. So if you would like to plan a family holiday or something more illustrious, that's a perfect time to do that. On the 30th of September, you would have seen on the social media, if you did see, that the Wolves International Soccer Camp is scheduled for the 30th to the 2nd of October. So 30 September to 2nd of October. And that camp is not open to BSI students. The BSI students will train exclusively with the Wolves coaches on the 3rd, on the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of September. So they'll get more intimate time obviously smaller groups. The Wolves coaches will coach our boys exclusively. So the camp is open to members of the public, and our boys will have, I think, a better opportunity to interact with the coaches on a more private basis at our training sessions. So that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be exclusively for BSR students. So that's quite exciting. Then in October, November, on a YDP side, obviously students are preparing for exams and academic responsibilities. And on the EDP side, the students are preparing for the competitive phase, which is, or the friendly competition phase, which I'll explain now. And obviously the Ubungani Cup and the Ferenc International Soccer Camp. So the last day of term is the 2nd of December. The Ubungani Cup will be on the Saturday, the 3rd and the 4th of December. Obviously, that's the under 20 invitational tournament. Last year was 4 teams. This year we plan to have 8 teams, more streaming. So we've discussed with SuperSport Soccer Schools to stream it, to have more streaming capabilities, more broadcasting capabilities, rather, should I say. And obviously that will be a selection of boys from the BSR Football Academy will play in that tournament. Not every player will play. I think it's important to make a note just to manage expectations. Not every boy will play in that. We can obviously only select a number or squad that will play in that tournament. And that it's important to remember that our players will still get opportunity in front of the Ferenc coaches, as you can see, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. So the Portuguese camp will be hosted the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And again, open to BSR students and open to the public as well, but there'll be less members of the public at that camp because it's more of a scouting opportunity for the older boys. So for the EDP boys, that will be a big opportunity for them to get exposure to the Portuguese coaching. And obviously for those boys who have had the experience of the camp earlier this year, it would be a follow-on from their previous experience. So I think that's an important date for the EDP players. So I'd just like to touch on the Wolves FC. Obviously, it's been some exciting news and an announcement that we have partnered with Wolves. And the Wolves partnership extends beyond the camps. I think one thing I want to make clear is that this is a partnership in order to exchange knowledge. Us with them and them with us. And they would provide us with monthly coaching workshops where we would discuss coaching or football trends and topics and discuss ways in order to implement European trends within an African environment. It won't be a one-way thing. It will be we would be working together to try and implement European philosophies and philosophies that they use within our African environments. I think that's going to be a really fantastic partnership for us. It's going to really create a lot of carryover to the students. Instead of a camp, which is the once-off thing, this monthly coaching workshops will provide carryover on forever, basically, with all the coaches and the players involved at BSR. So I think that's a very exciting element to this partnership. Obviously, there is the annual training camps and there is the coaching sessions conducted by the Wolves coaches with our boys exclusively. I think that's also very exciting. There is obviously in the future opportunities for UK tours and experiences at the Wolves Academy. So that's also exciting and something we hope to build on this year and obviously moving forward. Obviously, just Ferenc as well, we still have our partnership with them and it's strong. I mean, Zaka is leaving tomorrow with 3 boys who got identified at the International Soccer Camp to go on trial there with their under 20s or under 21s, as they would call them. So I think it's exciting. I think it shows real opportunities, that the camp is a real opportunity for boys to get exposed and to be identified by the coaches and by the European structure. So I think I'd like to encourage the younger ones to stay motivated and the older ones to really apply themselves over the next 5 months to working towards that goal and really making sure that they are giving 100% at training and they are committed to the program. Their time with us is a lot shorter and therefore they need to make sure that they're always applying 100% to themselves at training and in games. Obviously that comes with in December, we're having that scouting and international soccer camp again, as we did in February. And the YDP boys will also attend the international soccer camp, again, more for identification. It's important to make a note that they cannot sign players under 18. So although players will be identified, they won't necessarily, they can't sign them under the age of 18. The scouting is for the older boys, 18 and up. Then obviously at the last parents evening, which was in person, we discussed the 2023 December tour to Florence. So just something to make a note of. We will be in touch with all the parents to start fundraising for the 2023 December tour. We discussed fundraising as an important mechanism to make this tour possible. And the plan will be to obviously to take the whole YDP group and obviously the EDP group of 2023. So we'll take a big tour, hopefully with us in the end of next year. And again, that tour will have two components to it. The one component will be for the older boys, will be a scouting experience and a football experience, and obviously and a cultural as well. And the younger ones will be a cultural and football experience. So I think it's a fantastic thing we've put onto the calendar, and we'll start working towards it later this year. And then lastly, just the long-term partnership. They've given us a commitment long-term that they want to help us develop, and in order to actively pursue players in South Africa, and that's exciting. And I think the trials coming up now for those three boys is testament to their commitment to us. So obviously they're not on this call, but I'd like to thank them, and I'd like to thank everyone who was involved in February's camp, because obviously that contributed to the commitment that they're now giving us. So the International Soccer Camp and the Ubungani Cup. So the camp will be on the 5th to the 7th of December. That's Monday to Wednesday. And it will follow the 2022 Ubungani Cup. Just a note on that is that last year it was the other way around. The camp was first, then the tournament. This year we flipped it, tournament and then camp. The tournament will be bigger and better. 8 teams, 2 days, obviously more streaming, and obviously we hope to bring more local scouts along, and obviously the international scouts on the Portuguese side. Perfect. So then just to summarize, the last quarter is September to December. YDP, the focus will be on enjoyment, obviously taking to their long-term athletic development into consideration. So more games-based, other activities, other sports, trying to develop motor competency, trying to remove a little bit of the intense focus of football and trying to build enjoyment back into, well, enjoyment into the program. And obviously there's an academic focus. I think it's important for the boys to wrap up their coursework towards the end of the year, and for those boys writing exams to start to focus and study as discussed on the pillars. For the EDP, this is our competitive friendly game phase. So this is when we would select players to play competitive friendly games. Those of you who were around last year know we played UJ, Pirates, Tucks, and we hope to do that again this year. So for boys to focus, there will be lots of opportunities to play in competitive environments in September to December. Perfect. And then this is just some of the questions that came up on the email after my request for the questions. So there was one question about the calendar. Why not three terms? So traditional private school 3 terms. And why do we do 4 terms? The few reasons is that in theory, the 3-term would seem to work better because of the football season. But August is actually a whole month off, and so is April, and there's football fixtures during that time. So therefore, we would have the extended period without training. So that's one of the reasons. Second reasons are the terms are a lot longer. So we found with the demand, well, we found before on the golf side, with the demands of the sports and the demands of the academics, it becomes a lot for the players, and they tend to burn out towards the end. So rather shortening the terms and then having shorter breaks allows them to sort of keep the motivation and keep going a little bit better than extending it and really dragging out the terms. That's on that side. On a side, there's a question about if students choose science. The idea is if the students choose science, they need to do practicals. Then they go to Light Learning to do the practicals. Typically, they would go on a Friday to do practicals. So there is an opportunity for students doing RGCSEs who choose science, that they will have the practical component in it, and that will be done off-site at Light Learning. If they choose physical education as a subject, then we do those practicals in-house at BSI. The physical education subject, Marianka is the lead lecturer, and I'm sort of helping her out as we go through it. And it's an exciting subject. I would encourage the students, if they are keen on that side of in that subject, to take it up. It's really something relatable. I mean, one of the assignments is football, and it's actually recording a game and seeing if they're achieving objectives, and that is the assignment. I think for most of them, they would find that easier than the maths assignments. So I think it's a nice, relatable subject. I don't want to say it's easier, but the ability to relate it to what they're doing in terms of the gym, in terms of the football, in terms of the skills, in terms of the motor learning. I think it's a really integrated subject with the football program. And the boys who are taking it at the moment seem to be enjoying it and really taking it up quite well. We've done some mock tests with them, and they really seem to be taking it up. And I think that's more related to their interest around the subject. So that's something that's exciting. The uniform, we've had a couple of questions about the Kappa and the winter uniform. The Kappa uniform, just to give you an idea, gets planned 6 months in advance. So last year, obviously, they came on board with us quite late, so we didn't have much time to plan with them. But this year, we have more time. So the Kappa uniform, there'll be more details later on in the year once they finalize. We have got a message from them before, actually last year, towards the end of the year, that 2022 and 2023 will be difficult years on the retail side, logistically, due to COVID and obviously the fuel price and obviously moving things around in the world. So demand and supply, demand is high and supply is struggling. So, and this is a global trend. We even found that with the winter uniforms. So I'd like to thank everyone for being patient with us. And we have tried our best to find solutions for those things. In terms of the winter uniform, as you would know, that we're not using Kappa. It's just a little bit easier in terms of meeting your demands with the supply. It's just a little bit more consistent on our side. The winter uniform won't change next year. So if you do buy something this year, it will always be applicable. And as you would know, it's unbranded in terms of a specific brand. So it will always apply to the students. Another question with the winter uniform was the sizes are a little bit irregular. And unfortunately, we can't control that. But what we have noticed is that the sizes, the men's sizes extend, the women's and the men's sizes overlap. So it's the same cut, but the ladies large is the men's small. It's the same cut. So we can order smaller sizes now that we know that. We just have to order lady sizes. So we have a couple more samples available if anyone wants to try one, but there are smaller sizes available on the winter uniform. Another question that came up was the YDP game time. Obviously, there's 20 boys in the YDP squad at the moment, and obviously game time is limited for some. There's two reasons for that. The one is that we feel as coaches and technical staff and medical and the sports science side that their development, it just needs a little bit more time. I think it's important to remember that game time will come, but the training is for the younger ones is more, at this stage, is more important because it gives us the foundations of our philosophy, the technical mastery and the tactical understanding. So for a lot of the boys, they're getting a lot more value from the training, and the weekends allows them to rest. So it's just about balancing the total load that the younger boys take, and especially the new boys to the program. Most of them would have had 2 training sessions a week for 6 to 7 months of the year. And this is 10 months, 5 training sessions a week. And I know it's exciting and they're excited, but we have to be considerate that they are at risk initially for injuries because there's a sudden change of demand on them. So often we try to focus on the training, give them the technical and tactical foundations, allow them to rest on the weekend and repeat that process, and then to be patient. There will be game time for the YDP boys, for the younger ones, the under 15 ones. After the season ends, we've planned some friendly games with some schools, and they will get an opportunity to play. So there will be lots of opportunities for them to play. We just have to be patient. And I'd like to thank the parents so far for your patience and your trust in this process. I explained that it would be slightly messy, but we do try and communicate, obviously, with you. If you have any questions with regards to that, with regards to your son, please just reach out to me, email, WhatsApp, call. I'll always make time for you. Cool. And then the last one is around the Durban tour. So I got 2. I'll show you there's one question in the comments box. So the Durban tour, there's a question about uniform. What will the players wear? So they'll travel in their BSI kit, and when we go to games, they'll have to wear their BSI uniform. But other than that, they can take casual clothes. So they can wear casual clothes. If we go to the mall, they can wear casual clothes. When you're hanging around the hotel or going out on team activities, they can wear social clothes. When we go to games and traveling up and down, we will wear the uniform. We will do laundry when we're down there, so there's no need to stress. If they bring their two shorts, 2 shirts, tracksuit, and their kits, it will get washed while we're down there. Meals, we have planned to give them 3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch, and supper. There is a budget per meal. We don't plan to necessarily give them snacks all the time. Snacks would be extra, but they will get 150 Rand budget per meal. So obviously that will give them a little bit of pocket money for snacks outside of the meals. We have done a menu as such from all the, we've done a bit of research from down there where we will get the meals from. So there is a little bit extra which the players will get, which they can use as snacks and just to top up the meals if they want. But the meals will be comprehensive from our side. And the sleeping arrangements, the one question was how the boys be allocated, and we as the coaches will allocate them accordingly. Obviously things we will consider is obviously age. We will consider from our viewpoint, relationships, and trying to partner them with someone who they're going to enjoy their time with. So I think that's an important element from our side, but the coaches will allocate that and we'll do that closer to the time. There is a question in the chat. Evening, just a question on the dates for the YDP students who are selected for the Portugal in December. So we've got provisional dates for them, which would be the 8th to the 15th, but obviously we have to confirm that with the club. So when Zaka goes tomorrow, it's on his agenda of things to address with them, which date would be best suitable for the players to tour. Once we have those dates, we'll be in touch with those parents to obviously arrange the details and sort of give you an estimate of the cost and the travel arrangements and a provisional itinerary. So once Zaka returns on the 13th, there'll be a lot more answers with regards to the December tour. And I think that's it. Is there any more questions or concerns from the parents, comments, anything? You can unmute yourself and stop sharing.
Hi, sorry, Sidiso here. I just want to find out, is there any of the, just maybe educate me in terms of the guys that have done GEDP, and what's the relationship like in terms of them going overseas and doing college studies over there?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. So yes, there is. You're actually on my contact list for next week. So I'll be in touch with you next week with regards to the GED. What happens with the boys in their final year? We meet with the parents, so we've already met with some of them, and to discuss what the plan is moving forward with their boy. I will be in touch with you next week, Monday. Well, I'm in touch with you right now, but I will be in touch with you in detail on Monday to discuss the plan for Orotile.
Thanks, man. I will appreciate that.
Any other questions? Comments?
Hi, just a question. I just wanted to kind of understand in terms of the program. My son's been there for almost 2 years on the older boys program. And just like if there is like 6 months to go and they haven't had any trials yet via BSI, would you guys be letting us know if there's any possibilities of trials happening for boys who haven't had trials before, or the reasons why trials haven't happened, just that we can gauge whether, you know, we should be looking elsewhere ourselves for opportunities, just kind of getting a sense of, you know, how confident should we be that they maybe be able to get trials by the end of the year? Because obviously a 3rd year inside BSI would mean that the boy is also a lot older.
Perfect. So with regards to EDP, the boys who have been there, so the way the trials work is there's essentially 3 pathways. So what we do is the coaches there's 2 phases for trials for older boys. There's June, July, and there's December and January. And unfortunately or fortunately, football is a complicated world. So what happens is towards those two windows, the boys would call it the transfer windows. We as a coaches sit down and we try to identify players. So we have identified 3 players for this window, and we've made contact with regards to someone who facilitates the trials, and we'll try and make it happen. The reason why we don't bring it forward is often a lot of those things fall through because the person on the other side actually is unable to get it done. So it's quite difficult in order to guarantee that that's going to happen. So we try and keep it in-house. I mean, we are happy to. We generally try and give the boys an idea that it's going to happen when it gets more concrete. Trials, on the other hand, is that we can't send every boy on trial because some boys aren't ready, unfortunately. Yeah, for many reasons: technically, tactically, physically, mentally. So the one thing to remember is that if you do have the ability to seek opportunities, they are there. There aren't many legitimate trialing options that boys would be that exist. There's a lot of things out there that exist in the football world that aren't genuine, and unfortunately we get a lot of requests for boys, and a lot of the older boys do ask us, there's trials here, there's this, that, there's this, should I go? And I mean, it's difficult for us to say no, so we'll never say no, but the reality is that it's very messy out there, and we'll try to speak to the boys about, we have meetings with the EDP boys every 3 months. We had one 2 months ago, there'll be one now in the next cycle, and that's when we discuss these things. If you do have opportunities and you do want to explore them and you do have questions, I would encourage you to come forward with them. We actually had a meeting with the boys on Thursday and said, if you do know of anything, you do have any questions, you can come through. We can't send boys everywhere, so it's quite a difficult thing. It's more on a case-to-case basis. So if you do have exact questions about your specific son, I would ask you to put it in an email and then ask us that, and then put it in an email, put your son's name there, and I can get hold of you and give you the specifics around your son. There's just a question here. Yeah, so the comment is, will the coaches ever say to them that they don't believe that their boy will ever be ready to say to parents that it's better for them not to continue on the program? So we'll never tell you that your son is, we'll never tell you that he won't make it, because it's also dangerous. Because who are we to say that they will or won't make it? I think the one thing to remember is a lot of our boys are 18, 19, 20. Most professional footballers are only making it when they're 24. Our role is to keep the boys on the right path. I think the one thing that we've spoken to them about is when, particularly towards the end of the program or the end of their time with us, is to point them in the right direction and to say, this is the best opportunity for you in order to keep going in the industry. There's not going to be many players going straight from us into professional football because of their ages, that 18, 19, 20. There aren't a lot of players playing professional football, particularly in South Africa and overseas. They have to go you have to continue on the journey, and the journey is there's multiple dimensions to that journey, which I can unpack it. We can have a specific EDP pathway discussion for obviously the EDP parents if you'd like to see what that looks like. Obviously, we talk to the players about it, but if the parents want insight into it, I'm more than willing to do a presentation on the EDP pathways and the realistic opportunities of those pathways. So if it is something that you're interested, if you just type a comment in there, yes, then I'll be more than willing to put that together. But we won't tell you that they won't make it, because the reality is that's not how it works. It's normally that they have to keep going in the industry, and as they go along, there's a lot of professional footballers, there's a lot of our players who are better than professional footballers, but the industry doesn't work that way. So we can't tell you that they won't make it, but what we can give you is our advice in terms of which is the best pathway to follow to give them the best chances down the line. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm obviously not exactly answering your question, but it's unanswerable because there is so many complexities. So I hope that helps. Cool. Yes, thanks. So what I'll do is I'll put an EDP pathway presentation together, and then we can have an EDP parents discussion about it. Any other questions?
Hi.
Yes.
I think just to follow up on the questions that you just answered, would it be advisable maybe if we could schedule time to really, go through it in terms of, our son, and really look at it holistically, because my fear is that they will continue and continue on this path, but kind of lose hope, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but I think I'd like to set up a meeting so that we can really, discuss some of my worries as well, just moving forward.
Yeah, that's perfect. We can do that. I've got your name, so I know who your son is. I think that the one thing to remember for the EDP boys and parents is that this is the hardest time. 19, 20, 18, 19, 20 is the hardest time. And it's when most players drop out, it's when most players give up, it's when most players, and it's sort of the filter, this 18, 19, 20. You must remember, for a lot of the players, when you're going through the youth development, 15, 16, 17, 18, they're seeing progress. They're moving up through the team. They're going 15, 16, 17. They're seeing some of their friends make it. They're seeing success. They're not seeing failure, because as you move through the age groups, some of your teammates go on and continue to play in higher levels, go to other teams, academies here and there. If not, you just stay in the system. So you're seeing only success. When they get to 18, 19, it's the other way around. Now, often all they're seeing is failure. And I think it's an important thing for them to take note of, is that we try and do it with them to tell them, but I think it's important also for the parents to have these serious discussions with them. Do they understand this is the difficult time? Which is why I say I can't tell you that they're not going to make it, because often the players who persist are the ones who make it, not the ones who don't make it. So it's difficult to say if they are or aren't going to make it. And obviously players mature as well, but I think it's important that we have discussion with them that this is the difficult time, and we will try and guide you as best as possible. I think the one thing to remember is that obviously the decision will be up to you and to your son, but we'll give you the guidance and we're there to support you. But obviously that decision will come up to you. So I have made a note of your request, and I will be in touch with you with an email. We can sit down and have a chat about it.
Thank you. I think it's also just very hard to, like keep the children motivated. Not all of us, have done sports psychology and all of that. Obviously, we support our sons. And like you're saying, it is a difficult period. So, obviously as a parent, you feel sad and bad for your son, but obviously you want them to continue. And I think it's more of a parent thing, trying to encourage, during this difficult time.
Yeah, agree with you. I think that one of the important things, I mean, having been that age and having gone through that, is that I think it's important for the parents to have a frank discussions with the boys. It's obviously difficult for them. They don't necessarily want to say that many things that are deep and meaningful. But I think if we start to have those discussions with them, they will open up. I mean, I know they have them together as teammates. So I think it is something that we can assist with. Obviously trying to have those discussions and seeing where they are at mentally, but we'll sit down and we can chat, and to any other parents, I can do the same. There is a question. Hi, you had mentioned fundraising for the December 2023 tour. Is that to enable the school to facilitate expenses for the trip, or will the parents have to make contributions? So the fundraising will go directly to the tour, towards obviously the pot. And then the best way at the moment would be that all the fundraising goes into one pot, and then the difference we divide amongst the touring students. So there will most likely still be a contribution, but hopefully through the fundraising, we can reduce that across the board and spread it out equally.
Sorry, coach, are you able, I mean, I'm hearing the concerns of the parents of the older one, and my son is with the young ones. Is there a way to identify or have that, difficult discussion with the parent when you're seeing that the son might not succeed? I mean, these are kids, they're passionate, and obviously as a parent, you're also fearful. You'd rather steer them in the academic route, or is there a way to have these discussions with the parents earlier on while the child is still at the YDP stage to say, hey, we know that your child is passionate, but they might just not have a career in soccer? Because I mean, as I'm listening to the parents, I'm like, oh my word, this is reality,
Yeah, so obviously with a YDP students, it's a bit different because we have a lot more time with them and we're a lot more engaged, a lot more time with them in terms of the years. So we will have these, obviously, like I said, what we do with the older boys as they start to reach the end of the YDP stage, we'll have a meeting with the boy and the parent to discuss the avenues. I think that the one thing that's important to remember is that the 97 for 97% of the, if we say 3% of players, which is the current stat, are going from academy football into professional football, we know that 97 of them need to follow an alternative route. So just statistically, we have to encourage the boys that the academic pathways will facilitate their football. I think we have to reinforce that with them, that those two go hand in hand. The academics often allows a lot of players to actually make it at the end because they've managed to stay in the industry through the academics, university football or semi-professional football while studying. I think we have to facilitate that academic role. So we constantly reminding them. I think obviously I take your point into consideration that maybe we should have those discussions earlier. So 100%. We do have it with the boys when we're reaching the end, so the beginning of their final year, with you and the parent. Obviously, if we see something blinding that we don't think is necessarily, I'll bring it up. But otherwise, we do have it in their final year, at the beginning of their final year, and then we monitor it like that. So it's an ongoing process, and each boy is case by case. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. It does.
Comment.
Thanks, Coach. Again, Sidiso here. My final comment is thanks for the opportunity. And I think for me, as I know you said we will talk through Monday, but for me it's very important to make sure that the boys are sort of academically inclined as well in terms of what they're doing. And for me, you'll find that the guys that are doing, normally our kids that are doing soccer, they are more interested in soccer and they tend to sort of neglect their academic sort of route, which I think for me it's very important. So I'm looking actually forward to our discussion in Monday, and I know it will be a fruitful discussion. So the guys need to understand that as much as you do soccer, you also need to encourage the guys to do their academic stuff as well.
100%. I mean, I think that it's just a reinforcement of the message with them. And I've been 16, 17, 18. There's very little they can think about other than football. I think if they hearing and they seeing where we as the adults are putting the emphasis, the football, I always say, is the easiest side in terms of a motivation. We can always motivate them to train more. I think I know this year has been a little bit easier from a football side in order to be more sort of engaged with them on an academic side because we're in one side. And I think we have seen a difference. I think the boys are taking the academics slightly more seriously. I think the results are starting to show for that, academic results. I think it's just important. It's constant. That's why I would encourage. I mean, we will have these Zoom discussions every now and then, but really you can just reach out to me if you have a concern. I'm more than willing to answer any concerns. EDP, YDP. We're having weekly meetings on a Monday, so we are really staying up to date with the boys where they are. If you have any concerns, just to bring it up. This is a partnership. It's you, us, and them, and together we hope to create the best environment for them. But obviously, the easiest way to make sure we don't miss any boys is for the parents and us as the technical team to constantly stay in communication. So if you can, I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, we keep moving forward. Cool. Well, if that's it, thank you very much. We will be in touch, and stay warm. Enjoy your holiday if you're on holiday. And if you EDP, actually, we'll see everybody tomorrow. But otherwise, enjoy your holiday, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you very much for joining.